Okay, I was talking about goals and then I got a message. It said no one could hear me. So I hope you can hear me now. Again, if you cannot hear me, please send me a direct message. I think you may be able to hear me now. I'm getting a different kind of signal. Again, if you cannot hear me, let me know. But I was talking about setting goals and we are still just at the beginning. So you have not missed anything if you are just joining. So what I was talking about is when you start an intermittent fast, I want you first of all to think about a goal. Why do you want to go through with intermittent fasting? You have to have a goal, a reason, a why. What is your why? And when we're talking about goals, most of us want to lose weight. So a good way to make your goal specific, measurable, and achievable is to just think about losing 10% of how much weight you want to lose overall. For example, if I need to lose 100 pounds, I can start off with wanting to lose 10 to 20% of it, so 20 pounds. And the healthy way to lose weight is just to lose 1 or 2 pounds every single week. So very, very important to make your goals achievable for you. Also set a timeline. You can't just decide to lose, say, 20 pounds and that's it. 20 pounds in how long? Again, go back to the formula. Think of losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. And so if you have 20 pounds to lose, all of a sudden that is very, very simple now because that will take you about 10 weeks. So just make your goal achievable, but also put a timeline to it. I say so because intermittent fasting or any kind of nutrition or diet or healthy program is not easy. And if you don't have a goal and if you don't have a why, a reason for doing it, when the times get hard or you get tired of it or you get frustrated, it's easy to just give up, drop, and go. So I want you to have your goal in mind and your why power. Why are you doing this? So now let's get to the fun part of this presentation. What is intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting is also known as scheduled eating. It's not a diet, it's just a timed eating, meal timing, meal schedules. You start eating now, you stop eating at a certain point. Very important to understand that intermittent fasting is just timed eating. It is not a diet plan. It is not caloric restriction. So that's why you have to have your goals on your mind at all times. The New England Journal of Medicine really looked into intermittent fasting and its health benefits. They studied several laboratory animals as well as humans, and their data is very strong and convincing. And also, the American Heart Association states that intermittent fasting may produce weight loss. Why? Because it reduces insulin resistance and it will lower the cardiometabolic disease risk. So it's very important that you understand why are you trying to go into intermittent fasting. If you want to reduce your weight, fine. If you don't have to lose weight and you just want to be healthy, fine. We would soon look at the benefits of intermittent fasting. Now, before we go too far, let's talk about who should not be doing intermittent fasting. This slide here is very important. If the thought of fasting makes you feel anxious, depressed, then intermittent fasting may not be for you. Plus, if you have struggled with a major eating disorder like bulimia, please, intermittent fasting may not be for you either. Definitely, if you are pregnant, breastfeeding, or planning to become pregnant. If you are planning to become pregnant, please do not do an intermittent fast. And before the end of this slide, this presentation, you will understand why. Now, if you also are older with medical problems, older means above the age of 65, please do not do intermittent fasting. Now, if you're taking medications, especially those which lower your blood sugar, this may not be for you. Also, if you are responsible for handling heavy equipment or other tasks that may endanger you or others, if you were to experience any lightheadedness or side effects of low blood sugar, please, intermittent fasting may not be for you. If you are immune compromised or under the age of 18, I want you to avoid intermittent fasting. So, at the end of the day, please talk to your medical provider to find out if intermittent fasting may be for you before you actually start. Let's go on and talk about the different types of intermittent fast. For the purposes of this challenge, we are doing a 16-hour fast and eating during an 8-hour window. But there are up to 15 types of intermittent fasting. Can you imagine? So many. I was very surprised. The first one, the popular one, is the 5-2 fast. This is very popular. It allows you to eat normally for 5 days a week, and then you restrict your calories to 500 to 600 calories the other 2 days. This is easy, especially for people who are not very physically active during a 2-day span. Say Saturday and Sunday, you're not working, you're not doing anything, you're staying home. Then you may decide to reduce your calories to 500 to 600 calories, and that's eating very, very little. Okay, that's the 5-2. The next one is the 12-hour fast. This is really easy. Most of you have done it already. This is really a way of life for so many people. Eat supper early, don't eat breakfast, eat the first meal at 12. You're already fasting normally. Just because we call it a fast, now you think it's difficult, but it's really not. Most people are already doing this. Fasting for 12 hours, eating for the next 12 hours. The 16-hour fast is a little bit longer, which is what we are doing, but 16-hour fast gives better result than a 12-hour fast. Why? Because your body's energy reserves are depleted at that 12-hour mark. And so the fat burning really kicks in after 12 hours. So you fast for up to 16 hours, you have more benefit. So 16-hour fast is just that, fasting for 16 hours, eating for 8. I want to mention here that for our challenge, and I got this question so many times, and I'm a firm believer that there is no one size fits all when it comes to a healthy lifestyle change. On the Facebook plan and on the flyer, I specified that we will fast between 4 p.m. and 8 a.m. and we will eat between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Now, this is specifically my schedule. I want each and every one of you to think about a schedule that works for you. Maybe your kids come home at 6 o'clock and you have to eat dinner at 6:30 or 7 o'clock. So you may want to start your fasting at 8 p.m. That's fine. Or maybe you work at night and then you may want to start your fasting actually at 8 a.m. when you go to sleep. That's fine. The timing is very flexible when you start and when you stop. Okay? But make sure that you're fasting for 16 hours straight and eating during an 8-hour window. Does that make it easier? It does. It shouldn't be so stressful that you have to eat at times that are not really convenient for you. The next kind of diet that is really common is the 20-hour fast. This is called the warrior diet. I've tried it. I tried it very early on. It was a little tough to fast for 20 hours, but I did that also. That's exactly what it is. You fast for 20 hours, and then you eat during a 4-hour period. Some people do this for about a week or two. It really helps with that rapid weight loss before an event. I never encourage anyone to really have such a short goal, but hey, life is life. We have to be real in everything. Maybe there's a wedding coming up. Maybe you have to go to the beach or something. That's a good diet for you to do to burn fat quickly. the warrior diet. The next one is a 24-hour fast. It just means you don't eat anything for 24 hours. And again, if you really need to lose weight fast, got a wedding coming up and things like that, this is one of the diets that you can do, just fast for 24 hours or 48 hours. I did the 48-hour fast. That one was really tricky. I was so surprised because I started feeling hungry very early in the 48-hour fast. I mean, something like 13, 14 hours. I was already thinking about food, food, food. And we'll find out why your brain goes to thinking about something and what you can do to stop it. But when I got to the 20 hours and longer than that, I was not hungry at all. And in fact, when I got to 48 hours, believe it or not, even though I had my food laid out, I had no desire to eat at 48 hours, but I knew I had to. Um, and we'll talk about that later on also. Another kind of fasting is just skipping random meals here and there. You just skip a meal, and next thing you know, you've stayed for a long period of time without eating. Some people fast on alternate days, just skip fast today, eat tomorrow, and things like that. All of these are ways of intermittent fasting. But again, for the purposes of this challenge, we are doing a 16-hour fast and eating during an 8-hour window. Next, we'll talk about the health benefits of intermittent fasting. I hope you can read my slide here. One of the biggest benefits of intermittent fasting really is improving your digestion and decrease bloating. Intermittent fasting can encourage healthy eating habits, especially for those of us who just like to snack all day long and not give the digestive systems a rest. Intermittent fasting can help you with that. Once you know you should not be eating, then fasting helps reduce those issues of just eating mindlessly or binge eating or emotional eating. Intermittent fasting helps with that. But you will be consuming a lot more water, and so you give your gut a rest when you are not eating. And fasting has been shown to improve the gut bacteria profile, meaning it improves the bacteria profile of your stomach and it gives the bacteria a break from the work that they usually do when you're dumping food into your stomach. The fasting period also allows the lining of your stomach, of your bowel, to heal and recover. And this overall improves its function in filtering toxins and pathogens when you ingest them. And it also helps with decreased inflammation. So because you're not eating, the bowel itself is not inflamed. Excuse me. Secondly, the most important fact, which I thrive on, is the weight loss benefits that you get from intermittent fasting. When you fast, after 12 hours, your body's glucose storage reserves in the liver, those are depleted. So your body has no choice but to turn to fat and start burning it. And I recommend a fasted exercise, meaning if you exercise routinely, try to exercise after your 12-hour fast. No, you're not going to feel dizzy. You're not going to be tired. It's just 12 hours. 12-hour fasting is not going to starve your whole body. But because you do not have any glucose reserves, your body is steadily burning fat if you exercise after fasting for 12 hours. So it's really, really interesting how you don't get tired or you do not get dizzy when you're just doing an intermittent fast for 16 hours. And I'm talking about exercising after 12 hours. The formula to weight loss is really very simple, very, very simple. When the number of calories that you consume is less than the number of calories that you are burning, then you lose weight. Studies have shown that there's a hormone called the human growth hormone. Its levels are increased when you're fasting, and that helps you burn fat and increase muscle. In addition to that, insulin, which is another hormone, The levels of insulin are decreased, they are lowered when you're not eating. And so your body does not store fat because insulin is a fat storing hormone. Anytime you eat, you consume glucose, blood sugar goes up, insulin level goes up, and insulin is like a key. It opens up those fat cells and tells the fats to be stored. So you're not eating, insulin levels drop, and so does your fat. So several different ways in which your body efficiently burns fat when you're fasting. Intermittent fasting can also increase your energy levels. Isn't that interesting? Interesting that you would be fasting and your levels of energy is increased. That happened to me. I was surprised. People who are fasting, when you are not eating, because you're not eating and you're not eating some of the heavy and fatty foods that we tend to eat all the time, and because we are fasting now and we are generally smarter, we're making lighter meal choices, we tend to have a higher energy level because number one, we're using fat for energy. Number two, we're not consuming the things that make us feel bloated, that just make us feel heavy. And also, when we are fasting, our body is producing ketones. So we have an overall higher efficiency of energy production. So you tend to have more energy when you're fasting. Fasting also helps you develop mental clarity and improves your focus. Why? The truth is, when you start fasting, the first 1 or 2 days, you may feel a little bit tired, you may feel a little bit lightheaded, you may have a little headache, but your body adjusts to this very quickly. Excuse me. And then it starts to produce what we call catecholamines, and this is a stimulating hormone that is reduced when you are fasting. And so your brain experiences a boost during this intermittent fasting. And so you have mental clarity. Okay. And there are other things here on this slide, that intermittent fasting helps with. I hope you can see this, but you're going to have the replay. But we'll move on to how exactly do you go about intermittent fast? What do I do then? I'm just going to quickly go through this. Number one, like we talked about, what is your goal? Have a goal. Do you want to do this because you want to lose weight? What's your reason? Do you want to have just overall better function? Do you want to have more energy? Do you want to give your bowels some rest and just feel better overall? What's your reason? You have to really have a goal. If you cannot identify a personal goal, chances are when you start feeling hungry or hangry, or if you start feeling tired or lightheaded, you're done at that point. But when you have a goal and you say, you know what, I want to do this for 10 days because I want to see exactly how much weight I can lose. The first time I did an intermittent fast for 5 days, I lost 3 pounds. I was very, very impressed. And I know that part of that could be water weight. That's true. But at the end of the day, when I head out to lose weight, I will take water weight, any kind of weight that comes off my body. So, what is your reason? Your ultimate goal is what is going to power you through those difficult times. Pick a method. That's the second thing you have to do. For the purposes of this challenge, it's a no-brainer. We already picked the 16-8 method. Next, I want you to think about what is your goal? Do you want to lose fat? If you want to lose fat, you should be consuming fewer carbohydrates. Remember, listen to that how I said fewer. I did not say no carbohydrates. I said fewer carbohydrates. Consume more protein. And yes, you do want to consume fat. Okay? If you want to maintain, then yes, consume about an equal amount of all three macronutrients, main food groups. If you want to build muscle, building muscle, you need a lot of energy to do that. So you should be consuming some protein, a little bit more protein, a little bit more carbohydrate because you will be working hard at building your muscle, and then consume a lot less fat if you want to build muscle. I always say I don't like to count calories. I don't like to be calculating things. I just don't like to do that. So, for the purposes of the intermittent fast, I just encourage you to eat sensibly. And if you can eat whole foods, so foods that are lightly processed, that's the way to go. The next thing, when you get started, please plan. Please plan. Otherwise, you set yourself up to crash and burn. They always say when you have a goal but no plan, then you are planning to fail. So always plan. Plan your meals. I'm very big on meal prep. Remember how I said I eat between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m.? I take all my food for the day to work every single day. And I've been doing that for about 2.5 years, relentlessly. And that has contributed, the major contributing factor to my success is my meal planning. So please plan what you are going to eat ahead of time. Make your calories count. Intermittent fasting is scheduled eating. That's all it is. It's not going to take the burger out of your mouth if that's your thing. It's not going to take the French fries out of your mouth. So please make some healthy food choices during the intermittent fast. That's very important. So I know your next question is, now that you've said all this, exactly what do I need to be eating during the intermittent fast? I'm glad you asked that question. Number one, actually, number one, two, and three is our dear friend, water. Excuse me. Even though you are not eating, it's very important to stay hydrated. Consider the fact that most of our foods contain water, like fruit, vegetables, they all have water. So while you are not eating, you're not even consuming water from food. So you need to consume quite a bit of water, at least 6 or 7 bottles of water per day. And how do you know you're drinking enough water? A few things that you want to watch for. I don't want to gross you out, but I want to give you real information, and this is a fact. Look at your urine. If your urine is dark yellow, like really dark, you may be dehydrated. It may indicate that you're not drinking enough. So your urine has to be a pale yellow, like a straw color. Then you know you are hydrated enough. Also, if you have symptoms like lightheadedness, headache, fatigue, you may not be drinking enough water. A good rule of thumb is that women generally need about 2.5 liters of water a day. Men need about 3 liters of water a day. That's just a guideline. Now, if you are exercising, of course you need more. If you drink coffee and tea, of course you need more. Why? Because the coffee may make you dehydrated. So drink more water to counterbalance your coffee. Next thing is avocado. It may seem counterintuitive that you need to eat a high calorie fruit like avocado when you are trying to lose weight or when you are fasting. But the fact is that avocado has monounsaturated fat, and so it tends to keep you full for a few hours longer. So what I personally do is carbohydrate to I add avocado to my evening meal because it just tends to stay in my stomach a little bit longer. That's one thing you may consider if you like eating avocado. Eat it with that last meal. It may help you. Next is fish. Fish is very high, or not very high, but it has quite a few high amounts of vitamin D. Vitamin D is one of those vitamins that are essential to our well being. It just really helps with our hormones, it helps with our brain function, it helps with our energy levels. If you want to know more about vitamin D, let me know. I had actually done a vitamin D webinar, and I can send you the link if you want. But vitamin D is so essential for our function that the American government requires that things like milk and some juices be fortified with vitamin D before they end up in the grocery store, which is why you see milk with vitamin D. But anyway, you can find some vitamin D in fish. So please consume some fish. It would help you with nutrition, and in addition to that, fish has a lot of protein. Next are cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. These are full of the F word. F for fiber. Excuse me. When you are on an intermittent fast, honestly, I like to eat things that keep my belly full. And these cruciferous vegetables will do that. I mean, some of us just get too bloated or gassy with these vegetables. If you're one of those, stay away from them. I agree. But if it doesn't cause you problems, eat some broccoli and cauliflower and things like that, because it would help you feel full so you don't get hungry easily. This next one is really going to surprise you. Potatoes. I want you to repeat after me. Not all white foods are bad. Not all white foods are bad. Case in point, studies have found out that potatoes are one of those satiating foods around, meaning they keep you full. Excuse me. So you want to eat some potatoes as part of a healthy diet, especially if you're trying to lose weight. I would generally want to stick with just very, very small amounts of potatoes. Now, I'm not saying French fries or potato chips. No, no, no. Those do not count. But baked potato, just a small serving, that's okay. Remember how I said eat some protein, some fat, and some carbohydrate. Please eat all food groups. I'm going to tell you a little story on the side. Anytime that you restrict a specific food group completely from your diet, especially if it's something that you really like, there is an immature part of your brain called the limbic system, which is you cannot really control because it is immature. That is the part of the brain that takes over our craving. So if you crave something, if you're in my coaching program and you crave something and you ask me, may I have this, whatever it is, I say yes. That's my first answer. Because if you don't and you keep thinking about it, you activate your limbic system, which is not mature enough to control you. Your frontal cortex is the one that reasons, but it is weaker and smaller. And so when you crave something and crave it, it's because your limbic system is now out of control. Next thing you know, you ate the whole cake without thinking, and then you're mad at yourself. Let's not do things like that. If you really want something, right off the bat, just go ahead and take a small piece, be done with it. One little bite is not going to help you. It's taking that small bite over and over and over for a long time. That's what comes back to bite us in the butt. Okay? So French fries, potatoes, please, 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 if you're really dying, a must have, go ahead and have just a few and then get over it weekly. Don't go back there for quite a while. Next food group that's really helpful, the beans and the legumes are not going to hurt. They are low calorie carbohydrates. They're helpful in any eating plan. The next one, probiotics. We've talked about the gut bacteria. So probiotics just really help to replenish our gut bacteria. I find one in the grocery store. It is a farmhouse culture. These are called gut shots. So the farmhouse culture, they're really perfect. It's like a 1.5 ounce shot. It's just 10 calories, but it contains 10 billion live bacteria. These farmhouse culture shots. Or if you like kombucha, I like it too. I try not to drink it often because it really makes me feel funny. And I'm talking about things that you eat when you are not fasting. This is when you are eating. You're in your eating window, right? So you can have some kombucha. It would only help with your stomach. Berries are also very good. These are one of the fruits we can eat. So we've talked about avocado. We've talked about berries, especially if you're trying to lose weight. Don't go about eating things like mango, oranges. Those are very high in sugar. If you're trying to lose weight, stick with the berries and stick with avocado. Berries are high in vitamin C. They have a low glycemic index. Feel free to add those to your salads or just have those just as part of your snack. But berries are low glycemic fruits. Next one, my all-time favorite, hands down, eggs, high in protein. I consume about 3 or 4 eggs a day, almost every day. Eggs. But when I'm eating 4 eggs, it would just be the egg white. I may have one egg yolk and the rest will be egg whites, okay? Because we know the egg yolk, one egg yolk may have up to 60 or 70% of your cholesterol needs for a whole day. So you really want to be careful with eggs. But you can have as much egg white as you want. You can also hard boil these and eat just the egg white. Nuts are also great. They are higher in calories, however. Write this number down, 23. 23. So I sit down and count 23 almonds, believe it or not. Don't grab handfuls of nuts and throw those in your mouth. They're very, very high calories, but they help keep you full. So you want to just have one serving at a time. The nuts that are really good and nutritious are your raw almonds, cashews, pistachios, Brazil nuts, and walnuts. But please be very careful about your serving portions. Last but not least, we couldn't end without talking about meat and poultry. They're very, very high in protein. So, of course, major food group here, you may be vegetarian, so that's different. But if you're not vegetarian, and if you are a carnivore like myself, I love to eat chicken and meat. I had high cholesterol one time, so I generally go very, very slow on the meat, the red meat. But chicken breast, high protein content there, low fat. So please incorporate that in your diet as well. I just wanted to mention a few things about intermittent fasting and exercising. When you are exercising and intermittent fasting, it may work for some people and others may not feel comfortable about intermittent fasting and exercise. I want to mention again that please check with your healthcare provider before you start on any nutrition or exercise program. But it goes back to your goal. Now, if your main goal is maximizing muscle, if you are a bodybuilder, I'm not talking about just maintaining muscle tone, I'm talking about building major muscles, then intermittent fasting may not be for you. Now, if you're just a regular person like me, going to the gym and trying to maintain some muscle tone, exercising, yes, intermittent fasting is for you. In fact, I want you to still continue to lift weights because number one, your body will benefit from lifting weight because you burn more fat, you build muscle to fuel your energy, so you end up burning more fat. And also, you will not gain that much muscle, but then you tend not to lose much muscle as well. I hope that makes sense. But the main message here is if your goal is to build major muscles, if you're an athlete and a bodybuilder, then intermittent fasting may not be for you. There is a small difference that I mentioned earlier on between men and women when it comes to intermittent fasting. And this is all about our sex hormones. Women, we are a little bit shortchanged here. So, again, please listen to me carefully. If you are a female and you are trying to get pregnant, please, intermittent fasting is not for you. Why? Because the caloric restriction can reduce the production of the female sex hormone. What that does, it can cause your ovaries to shrink a little bit and cause your cycles to be irregular. It can make you infertile. And so it's very important that women who are trying to conceive, who are trying to get pregnant, stay away from intermittent fasting. However, if you're like me, you're postmenopausal, or you're done with childbearing, then you will not have this problem because even if your hormones fluctuate, it doesn't matter. You're doing this for weight loss. So your body will benefit significantly if you are trying to lose weight. That's really the main problem here with women who are trying to get pregnant. Intermittent fasting is not for you because the female sex hormone is down regulated and out of balance when you are fasting. The women are really, really sensitive to starvation because of the hormone, the sex hormones. Okay. Some women are extra sensitive because fasting or when you're not eating, your hunger hormones like leptin and ghrelin are ramped up. And what happens is you experience more hunger. The way to calm this down, however, is just to drink a lot more water. And this is for women who are not trying to get pregnant. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you're not sure you're trying to get pregnant, please seek the advice of your medical provider first. It's really, really important. Really, really important. I'm so passionate about women who are trying to conceive. For me, for example, that does not apply. Now, on the other hand, our men are so lucky. They are lucky when it comes to weight loss. They're lucky for everything, including intermittent fasting. If you are a male, you are lucky because intermittent fasting is actually beneficial for men. Why? Because short bouting of fasting has been proven to increase testosterone production. I'm going to leave that right there. But that's what intermittent fasting does for men. I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks here that may help you to be successful in your intermittent fasting. The very first one is how to break a fast. By breaking your fast, what I mean is, what do you do when you come to the end of your fasting? Don't do what I did the first few times. In fact, when I started fasting the very first time, I copied somebody's YouTube video. What she was doing was she would break her fast with a bowl of fruit and a handful of nuts. And I said, wow, finally, I can have some fruit, any kind of fruit. So that's exactly what I did. I went to the grocery store, bought a bunch of fruit, made me some fruit salad, put it in my refrigerator, and in the morning, I got a bowl of it, took that to work. And when I ate that, my stomach cramped so bad. I mean, it was just horrible. I had all these sharp pains in my stomach. I was nauseated. It was not good. So I went and I have learned through research and experience that breaking your fast with liquids is the best way to go. And this is where your bone broth comes in, what we talked about. The reason why is because your stomach shrinks, it gets smaller during your fast, and your digestive system takes a short break and actually goes to sleep a little bit. So when you reintroduce nutrition, you need to do it slowly and gently. So breaking your fast with a liquid meal is the best way to go. So bone broth is very, very nutritious. Bone broth, and add some MCT oil to that. And I can also send you information on MCT oil. Keep in mind, MCT oil is an oil, so it's very high in calories. So you really want to measure it out and just not pour it blindly. 1 tablespoon of MCT oil may have up to 160 calories. So you need just 1 tablespoon of that. But first, take in 1 serving of bone broth and a tablespoon of MCT oil. Wait about an hour for your body and your bowel to wake up and feel good and happy before you eat a meal. Now, if say bone broth is not your thing, because when I took that bone broth from the store first time, I mean, it just rubbed all my taste buds were just crazy, and I couldn't do it a second time. You can also try things like overnight oats, just make them really, really soft and runny. But just try something that's liquid and not solid right off the bat. If you exercise towards the end of your fast and you have to break your fast right after exercise, then you can also try like a protein shake. That also works. It's liquid and it's generally easier on the stomach. So you can try a protein shake. That will also work. I talked about the pink Himalayan salt. Why? Because when we're not eating and we're not consuming anything, our bodies may go into some salt imbalance. I mean, all that going to the bathroom, drinking water, your salt gets depleted some. So I would advise you towards the end of your fast, salt will not break your fast. So when you get into about hour 14 or 15, just take the pink Himalayan salt, which is the most natural and unprocessed salt. Just shake that into your bottle of water. What I do, because I really honestly cannot stand it, the taste of that salty water, I put a small amount of water and about 3 or 4 shakes of my Himalayan salt, stir it up and drink it real fast. That helps just balance your salt in your body. So it's very, very helpful. Another trick, another very important thing is to avoid processed foods. So cook with whole foods, meaning unprocessed foods. Probiotics with or before your first meal, they really help with your stomach. Consume your meal slowly. Consume your meal slowly. I've talked about mindful eating in the past. I'm not sure if I have a video on that, but mindful eating is really important. One of the reasons why we are overweight in the first place is because we eat without thinking and we eat too fast. And then we don't really spend time just appreciating the food that we have. When you start to think about your eating to nourish your body and you're really grateful to God for giving you this food and for really putting you in a position to appreciate your meal, then things start to change. Your body starts to change because all of a sudden you start to eat slowly. When you eat slowly, you end up consuming less calories. Again, stay hydrated, and let's talk about what you can drink. You can drink water during an intermittent fast. It is not going to break your fast. You can drink unsweetened tea. In fact, green tea has been shown to be beneficial. So if you can stand the taste of green tea, and I personally had to do a little bit of research to find the green tea that was acceptable for my taste buds. Not all green teas taste the same. I found out that when I started doing intermittent fasting. So if you try one green tea and it doesn't work, do not give up, please. Just keep looking. You may find one that's mild enough for you to be able to stand. Black coffee is also acceptable. I'm a very big coffee drinker. I like strong black coffee. But when I started fasting and I realized I cannot add any kind of sweetener into my coffee during my fasting period because it will break my fast, then what I did was I watered down my coffee. I make it not as strong and very, very hot. And it was easier for me to drink it that way. So just work it out. If you're a coffee drinker like me and you just feel like you have some sugar or creamer, wait until you're not fasting. Wait for your 8-hour eating window. Okay? Anything other than water, unsweetened tea, and black coffee, anything other than that is not allowed during your fasting period. It will break your fast. So the things like the crystal light powders or all those will break your fast for sure. Concentrate on really eating some healthy meals. Remember how I said the intermittent fasting is just scheduled time eating. It's not going to jump in there and slap that burger down from your hand. So be very mindful about what you're eating. And please, please, please keep it healthy. Next, let's look at the bad and the ugly. Everything has side effects that I want you to be aware of. Number one, increase in kidney stones or gout. And these happen because you may be a little bit more dehydrated during your intermittent fast. And so you may experience more gout flaring up and more kidney stones. The way to control your kidney stones really is to drink water. Now, these are the people who need to drink about a gallon of water a day, especially if you are prone to kidney stones. Please, please, please make an effort to drink a lot more water, and the same with gout. Now, one thing that may happen is that you may feel your stomach growling. Actually, your stomach may start barking and rumbling during your fasting periods, especially if you're somebody like me who was used to just constantly grazing, eating something small all day long. The good news is you can take some active steps to keep that hunger in check. Number one, during the fasting period, avoid looking at food. Don't put on the food channel on TV and start watching all that good food being cooked. Of course, you're going to be tempted. Try not to smell food. So, if you need to cook, cook during your eating window. Don't cook when you're fasting. Come on. What happens when you think about food, when you smell it? What happens is your body can get ready to receive the food, and you can actually trigger the release of gastric acid into your stomach. And so grrr, you feel hungry and that stomach starts growling. Why? Because you have gastric acid secretion already in response to what you're thinking, what you're looking at, or what you're smelling. So let's try not to do that. So if you really, really need to, and you're having those hunger pangs, I want you to drink a lot of water. Next, you may have the urge to overeat when you are not fasting. This is why I tell you to try to eat mindfully. The truth is that when you are fasting for 16 hours, automatically you have eliminated one of your regular meals. Maybe it's breakfast, maybe it was supper, but you have eliminated one, or because your time for eating is so restricted, you may not be able to eat all the things that you normally think you need to eat. And so some people just go overboard. Now they say, wow, I have just 8 hours to eat, so I'm going to eat. And next thing you know, you've consumed too many calories. Let's try not to do that. How do you do that? By eating those things that we know keep us full longer and have a lot more fiber. The next thing that can happen, and we've talked about this already, you may experience some dizziness, that's one of the side effects, or headaches or fatigue because of intermittent fasting. So the way to counteract that is to drink more water. Guess what? The first or second days are always the hardest. Your body is very, very smart. Day number 3, it gets easy. Just stick with it. Stick with it. Sometimes you may feel a little bit groggy. Why? Because your body now is running on less energy than usual. But once your body gets used to it, remember those catecholamines that we talked about that are released when you're fasting? Now you start to experience an energy boost. So that's why I encourage you to drink green tea and coffee, and also drink a lot of water. Most importantly, stay with it. Stay with it. Your body gets used to everything and you will be just fine, especially if your doctor says it's okay for you to continue with this intermittent fast. There's one thing that happens to some people though, they get really irritable. The same biochemistry that regulates the mood also regulates our appetite. So sometimes with nutrient consumption, when it may affect some neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. If you've ever looked up anything that has to do with depression or with anxiety, you must have come across these two hormones, dopamine and serotonin. So when you are down regulating your appetite, meaning you are in a fasting state, these hormones may also be down regulated as well. And then you start to have some mood swings. The way to counterbalance that again is to eat a nice, balanced, healthy diet during your eating window and also get enough sleep. Sleep has been shown to be linked with our mood. So sometimes we feel a little bit moody or we're having these mood swings and we're thinking it's just the fasting. It may not be. It may be something else like stress, which may have nothing to do with the fasting, or it may be due to lack of sleep. I cannot end without talking about alcohol. Alcohol There is no 100% zero. So I'm not going to tell you do not consume any alcohol at all if that's your thing. But if you drink, say, a glass of wine routinely, I want you to be aware of certain things. If you are trying to lose weight, alcohol is known as empty calories. Okay, so you're just consuming empty calories. It is not recommended during any kind of healthy nutrition to consume alcohol because I know you what you're thinking. You are saying that the doctor said a glass of alcohol will help my heart. This doctor is saying stay away from alcohol while you are fasting, especially when your stomach is empty at the end of your fasting period. Do not consume any alcohol. Do not drink alcohol on an empty stomach because the effects of alcohol are just so much stronger. So we don't want to consume alcohol on an empty stomach. If you absolutely are used to alcohol, this is what you've been consuming every single day, then very, very, very small amounts can be consumed during your eating window, but certainly not on an empty stomach. Absolutely not. Now, for the purposes of this intermittent fast, I really, really advise you to please refrain from drinking any alcohol whatsoever. The last thing I'm going to mention, and this would be the end, and I thank you for bearing with me all this while. The last thing I'm going to mention is that the long term benefits of intermittent fasting at this point are unknown. Why? Because all the data that have been put out there have only examined intermittent fasting for 3 to 12 months. We don't have any data to justify or to that have looked at the long-term benefits of intermittent fasting. These are unknown. So we don't know if it's safe to continue intermittent fasting indefinitely, but I personally think you can continue an intermittent fast like a 16-8 fast for up to 3 months, and that's it. Lastly, I recommend that you take a break. Why? And I'm going to end after that. Why? Because our bodies are so smart. The body's system was created by God in such an intelligent way that it adapts itself to everything. And I'm going to explain this. When you start fasting, your body automatically consumes fewer calories if you're eating sensibly. So let's say, for example, your body needs 2,000 calories. When you start fasting, you may realize that you can only consume 1,800 or 1,500 calories during that 8-hour window. So what happens is you automatically lose some weight. Initially, you lose weight. Your body says, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, guys. I'm not getting enough energy here. So it drops your metabolism just a little bit after a few weeks, like 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Your metabolism drops just a tad. In addition to that, you have lost some weight also. And so your caloric requirement is not as much. In addition to that, your metabolism has been dialed down just a little bit. So you stop losing weight and you say, oh my goodness, I am not losing enough weight. So you restrict your calories even further. And next thing you know, wow, you start losing weight again. So you start losing weight again. And then your body says, hey, she's not giving me enough energy. So it dials your metabolism down just a little bit. And then you stop losing weight yet again. By this time, you have lost some weight, and so your caloric requirements are not as much. And so you are a die-hard person. You're telling yourself, I am determined to lose this weight. And so you cut back on your eating even further. And next thing you know, you start losing weight again. If you continue on this cycle, you get to a point where you just can't keep up because you're consuming so little and your body says, nope, nope, I'm not going to give up anything else. I'm holding on to this. And then you get tired and frustrated. You throw in the towel. Next thing you know, you're back to square one. This is why I recommend that you only do an intermittent fasting for a short period of time. 3 months is the maximum. And hey, while you're doing this, please take some breaks. If you are one of my coaching clients, I recommend that my coaching clients have what I call, quote unquote, a cheat meal every 7 days. Every 7 days. So you do not give your body, or your body is not allowed to downregulate anything. We want to catch it before it does it. So that's just a short take home message. And that's it. Unfortunately, I cannot see any comments or any questions that you may have just because of the way my screen is arranged. But please, if you have any questions, do well and put those questions on our private Facebook group. Private Facebook group. I couldn't even get that word out. Please put that on the Facebook group, and I will be happy to come back and give you all the answers. And this is it for me today. We will start the intermittent fast tomorrow. So if you're doing the 8 to 4 p.m. fast, what's going to happen is you eat normally and in a healthy manner up until 4 o'clock, and then you stop. That will be your day number 1. I wish you all the best. Please come into this with a healthy mindset. Tell yourself you can. Give yourself lots of positive affirmations. We need to be kind to ourselves. So just give yourself some positive vibes. Tell yourself you can and you will. I will chat with you another time, and thank you. Have a good night.